Oh my god.
7k dreamer please.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So I've decided to revamp all my guides for raid, and we are gonna start with item raid first because I think this is one of the tougher raids, and I think since level 9 raid is coming up, I think most players want to clear level 8 as soon as possible. And these are my masteries for level 8 raid, and you can see that this is actually my beginners team. Okay, you see the equipment here. Unfortunately, I really have to say that you should have Mythical Awakened items by now, okay? PvE items. So if you don't have them, please try to make the weapons for Velika to this level, and I think you will have a much better time. Okay, double HP standard PvE jewels. PvE jewels are a must for Velika, and you see that I only give her Willful Ring and crit damage, and Fighter Soul is all adjusted to only 2 grades, okay? And I only have 3 special traits for my heroes. You'll see that the front line, I've really only geared them with HP armor, Willful Ring, and defensive jewels. Now for defensive jewels, you can go with blue jewels, it's totally fine. I think with Mythical Awakened, HP armor, you will be okay. So I'm doing this manually because I tried it on auto and I kind of died. So I really want more control over this, and since raid is no longer, you don't have to continuously loop raid anymore, you can just do this manually, and it also applies to your extra raid, so just do it manually once. I think it's good enough. Okay? For the rest of the raid loops, raid runs, you can actually just press the auto clear. So you'll see that I have already landed Yuri's debuff, buff with Velika's top skill, and then also used Velika's bottom skill. Now before you use Velika's awakened skill, okay, do make sure to buff her completely, and what I mean by that is to use Fenrir's top skill as well to increase crit damage and lethal damage, as well as use Yuri's awakened skill, which will increase the damage you deal to universal enemies by a certain percentage. Okay, so all these are very important, and they will last for about 6 turns if I'm not wrong. So you can definitely get the most output from Velika by turn 5, because by turn 5 Yuri's passive will also be maxed out, and you can see here she does 15.9, okay, just with grade 1 and 2 Fighter Soul, and also very basic accessories and jewels. From there on, you really just have to try to use her bottom skill to kill Stormwing, and if you need to reset cooldown, you can use Yuri's bottom skill again to reset the cooldown for yourself. And with that, I think you shouldn't have a big problem with this raid, okay? It will take a little while, okay, about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. 9 turns, I think it's still pretty alright, because this is probably one of the more beginner kind of builds that I can come up with. You may have poorer items, I understand, but just focus on getting your power-up stones from this raid. This raid is super important for that, okay, so that you can actually pump your equipment quickly. Now this is another team. This is actually the cooldown increase team. Okay, in this team you will get 0 damage, I can assure you. And I'm using Xiao, but you can really just use Chloe if you do want to do it manually. I think since it's manual now, it is much easier to do it with just Chloe, but Xiao is just a precaution in case you slip up. Okay, you have to cast Chloe's bottom skill first because that increases his cooldown by 100 seconds. Okay, after that you can cast a debuff and buff the Velika, and then you see that it's actually almost around 30 seconds now, and if your Chloe skill is not ready, your Chloe's bottom skill is not ready, you can use Xiao's bottom skill, which will increase his cooldown by another 50 seconds. So it's really just about locking him and not allowing him to use any skills. Meanwhile, you are buffing your Velika and attacking him. Okay, and all he's dealing to you is basic attack damage, which is not very high if you still go with the HP armor that I told you about. So down to around 8 seconds, okay, use Chloe's bottom skill to give him another 100 seconds. You have to, I think this will take some experience and practice because he does reduce cooldown every 5 seconds with his basic attacks, and sometimes you never know when RNG will cause him to use more basic attacks in a certain turn. So I always want you to make sure that, you know, when it's down to about 30 seconds, just use any cooldown skill you have already, okay? And of course here, I didn't equip myself with anything at all. Just take note, nothing at all. That's why she's dying so fast. That's unfortunate, of course. So if you do give Xiao HP armor, then of course she won't die too fast, and you can definitely, you know, continuously lock Stormwing in cooldown. But for the other skills, you'll see that it's all the same. Okay, you have to debuff with Chloe's top skill, you have to buff with Velika's top skill, you have to use Velika's bottom skill to attack. You can even throw in, you know, Fenrir's top skill for more damage if you have the space too. And of course, you know, there are many other factors that can give you a faster run using this method. Let's just say you have the Velika Awakened skill reset accessory on her. That will actually give you another Awakened skill, and you can also use that Awakened skill to, you know, do more damage and shorten the entire run overall. But here I'm really going with the most basic build, and unfortunately my Xiao died. So I can only rely on Chloe now. Luckily, I still have about, you know, 60 seconds on the clock for him, and yeah, right now I don't have any skills to use, so I'm waiting for Velika to cool down. Again, to play safe, I use Chloe's bottom skill just to increase his cooldown so he won't do anything funny, and then I will proceed to kill him off with Velika's bottom skill. Still couldn't kill, but it's okay. I think the basic attack kills. Okay, so that was a pretty long run. In fact, it's 4 minutes long, and I wouldn't recommend that unless, you know, you will really have no other choice. So this is the advanced, the really current setup for Velika. Speed and crit. Okay, HP armor, don't give her the best. Give her something weaker so that the Berserker Ring can take effect better. I also have a Celestial Sharpness on her so that she will increase damage on Universal, and this is also from her traits and fighter soul, so there's a lot of damage done onto Universal. The jewels, you know, I only have one Mythical Awaken jewel, but you don't have to Mythical Awaken the jewel, okay? The basic jewels will do fine. And for limited traits, okay, the traits are actually the same. Increase damage on Universal, Electrify, Resist, and Lethal Rate increase. For the limited traits, however, I've given her increased damage on enemies that have all damage reduction, because that's what Stormwing has. Okay, so this will do 50% more, which is going to be huge. And then the second one I have for her is lethal damage increase on universal type enemies. So this is also going to be very huge, because we do have a crit damage increase from, you know, Yuri already. So I think having more lethal damage is overall better. So you see that Velika actually goes first because she has speed, and the reason for that is that so that she can get her Awakened skill up much faster. Not that it really matters, because as long as you are able to get your Velika's Awakened skill by turn 5, you should be good. Turn 5 is where you will want to use Velika's Awakened skill, or you can try it at turn 4, but at turn 5, you know, you will get the maximum amount of Yuri boost, 50% crit rate and crit damage, so that will be the most optimal. You see that she has already gotten her Awakened skill up thanks to the speed weapon. Of course, you know, during all this, you have to remember that I do have guild buffs, 30% crit rate increase and 30% lethal rate increase, so that really helps in not having to equip Velika with 2 crit or 2 lethal. So her bottom skill does a lot of damage already, and he's already down by 30% of his health. So turn 5, you should be casting the Velika's Awakened skill, and you'll see that she does insane damage. She can kill 2 Stormwings with that amount. And the run is very short, it's only 1 minute 30 seconds, which is the more preferred team right now. So this is another team that I tried. You see that I'm not using Fenrir, I'm just using Randgrid for fun. She does the same thing as Fenrir, right? However, because we do have Rin here and 4 magic allies, so Rin's passive kicks in. she increases crit and lethal rate of all allies by 50%. And this is the same as Fenrir's buff. So that is why I chose to use Randgrid, because Randgrid actually boosts the frontline defenses by 3000, which means if you do have a weaker team, this, if you do have weaker units, this team is actually possibly better because there's only passive application. Okay, you don't have to cast so many skills, you just have to focus on Velika. So it could be more efficient if you are not too familiar with skills. Okay, Randgrid also increases lethal rate and also gives Velika increased status effect resist rate, so she will definitely not be electrified. In case you are not giving somehow Velika electrify resist. Okay, but that's a gamble you are gonna take right there. I just cast the Velika's Awaken skill, she still does very good damage, so you can see that actually you don't really need Fenrir. And some of you may be thinking, can you use Shane? I would say yes, for sure, but I would not recommend Shane if your gear is not too strong, because Shane does take a maybe additional minute at this level, okay, at this level of gear, she does take 1 more minute longer than Velika. You see that the gear I've set up for Shane is almost the same as the gear set up for Velika for the advanced team. Okay, so if she does take 1 minute already, 1 minute longer already, then if you have not so good gear, the run will be exponentially longer for sure, right? Because Shane's damage output is not a burst kind of damage, it is more a consistent amount of damage. I'm using Dellons here for defense drop of 2000, and I'm also using Dillo. Now if you don't have Dillo, you can of course use Ritual, you can of course use Kale. In fact, Kale may be better here because of the cooldown, so that you can change Shane's skills much easier and much faster. And you realize that I did not cast the debuff of increased damage enemies take, so please observe the damage. Take note that if you do intend to go with this team, you do not have that debuff, and which means you're really relying on very raw damage. Although you do have minus 4000 defense from Dellons and Dillo, Shane still does pretty good damage, as you can see, per skill, right? And that's without Fenrir's buff. So with Fenrir's buff, I expect her to do more, especially since Stormwing won't be able to block as well. However, of course, if you just judge by the percentage of health that Shane chipped off, I think you will need about 2 to 3 more skills in order to get it done. So this is already going to be longer than Velika. Velika should have finished the run by now, by turn 5, right? Nonetheless, it is okay. It is still doable for sure, okay? I did not choose to make a Shane run with beginners builds, but the idea is there. You can still try it out. I would still prefer you to build your Velika for that purpose, or for this purpose overall, because Velika is actually more consistent across all raids, in fact, so you don't have to change, you don't have to build like 2 DPSs just to do raid. You can just build 1 Velika first in order to conquer all the raids, especially if you are a newer player. So Shane took about 45 seconds, 1 minute longer, Still doable. Now then I thought, maybe I won't have to use Eileen, because Dillo does give me 40% boost. And in fact, what if I actually use Chloe, because Chloe can cast the debuff to increase the damage the enemies take and also decrease defense. Then I'll observe something very unique with Chloe. Now just look at this. So she's supposed to cast 2 debuffs, but you realize she only casts 1. 1 is applied. The defense drop is not applied, and that is because you already have Dillo and Dellons acting on Stormwing. Okay, so those debuffs do not overlap. So if you have a Dellons on the field, he is not going to overlap with Chloe's 80% minus 80% defense drop. So in that case, Chloe is only there for 1 debuff, which is still okay. But you have to observe how's the run. The logic is the same really, to just spam Shane whenever she's done. You will realize that the damage she deals from the get-go is of course much higher, 5 million in 1 skill compared to before. I take note that she does have 50% lesser physical attack because Eileen is not there. Okay. So actually here I shouldn't have used Chloe's debuff, but I wanted to confirm whether I was seeing things wrongly, so I decided to use her debuff again, and I confirmed that the defense drop is not applied. Only the damage increase the enemies take will be applied. Okay, here she does 6.5 million, which is a huge amount. Take note that lethal is also kicking in, so the lower Stormwing's HP falls, the more damage Shane will deal. Okay. Unfortunately, I haven't found a team that you can use maybe a counter hero to, reduce the damage, reduce the cooldown of Shane efficiently. But I think this is also good. A little longer than the previous one by 10 seconds, but I think it's almost the same turn count. Okay. So I hope this video helped. I really put in a lot of effort, to showcase different teams for item raid. So if it did help, do give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Big shout out to my channel members ZMD Phoenix, NEC Dahil and Reggie Bautista for the support. Stay tuned for more raid guides and videos. Thank you so much and see you!